Well, good morning, everyone. Here we are back again for NFL Fantasy Matchup. Usually we do it on a Friday, but today we're going to do it on a Saturday right before the slate of games on Sunday. So welcome, everyone, on a Saturday morning. Jed, Jim.
Hey, how are you guys?
Yeah. Good morning. Welcome to week 3.
Yeah. Hey, Jed, but before we start, let me ask both of you guys this question. We're all fans of the Bears. What do you think of the Bears and Caleb Williams here in week 3 as we head into it?
So I know everybody's bailing on the Bears. It's totally fine. Everyone's right. Our offensive line is horrible. I personally was encouraged by the Houston game. I saw a much different Caleb Williams than the first game. I felt like he was much more in command of the offense. I felt like he was actually making reads. Yes, he missed some throws. Yes, there were still some mistakes. The third quarter was terrible. But overall, I mean, I'm not expecting him to be perfect out of the gate, and I was encouraged by what I saw. Yes, we lost the game, but still, for me, it was an encouragement. So I'm not bailing yet, but I know a lot of people, and I saw a lot of people drop Caleb Williams in fantasy, which I think is fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not, as a Bears fan, I'm still okay. I'm still hanging in there.
Yeah. Jim, what do you think of the Bears?
Their line sucks, though. You kind of have to admit that, because if you watch the game, it's not like he's not releasing the ball. Like, there are times where, I'm just looking at it and he's like, okay, he can make better decisions. Like DJ Moore got mad at him because he was wide open and he could have thrown the ball at the right place, but he missed them, right? But the offensive line stinks. Like, I don't know what's going on. And you would think that the general manager who used to be on the offensive line would prioritize it. But it's almost like instead of drafting some of these players or finding the right players, even in free agency, because they have so much money in free agency, they just kind of left it like as it is. And they were just hoping that they would just play some of these guys.
Oh, no, the guys on ESPN Radio 1000 were sitting there kidding around. You're asking Poles, who was a terrible offensive lineman, to be drafting offensive linemen. He's probably drafting players just like him. That's why they're so...
Yeah, but here's the main thing. Keenan Allen is old, right? You would think that I thought he would at least have 6 games. So he's not doing well. You think Odunze, hopefully he's past his injuries and he's doing well. You're really, really only focused on DJ Moore because DeAndre Swift is not doing anything. And so.
Oh, the run game has been terrible. That's been a little bit surprising. I thought the run game, and I kind of wish, I think that would help the offensive line, is if they focused on the run, established the run in the first half, it really would help the offensive line. But man, it has not. I think I read that Swift is averaging less than 2 yards a carry.
Yeah. You know what?
And Jim, Keenan Allen has plantar fasciitis, so he's probably going to be out at least for another 2 games.
You know what I was thinking about though? David Montgomery. Like, he's so good on Detroit. If they just kept him a couple years ago, gave him a little bit more money instead of the $3 million he got from Detroit, I think that he would have helped this team a lot.
Yeah, but I think a lot of times they looked at Roschon Johnson, the person they drafted out of the UT, University of Texas, as that cheaper replacement for him.
But he hasn't touched the ball. Roschon Johnson has not been on the field even. He didn't even play last game. So it's terrible.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, the Thursday night football game, Aaron Rodgers looked good. I really enjoyed watching Aaron Rodgers. He looked like the old Aaron Rodgers. Now, Garrett Wilson has to continue to do better, but Breece Hall and rookie running back Allen seems to be doing really well.
Yeah, that was a good game. I was mad. I had a three touchdown parlay bet that was Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Ramondre Stevenson.
No, Ramondre Stevenson did nothing.
No. He did nothing, not even a garbage time TD.
Jed, I would have told you Braylon Allen would have been a better bet to score a touchdown than Ramondre Stevenson.
I was so mad. I was like, just one touchdown. It's a nice three-person parlay. Would have been a nice hit.
Yeah, I was so disappointed where he literally got me 0.3 points. And
But Garrett Wilson, if hopefully no one bailed on him. He didn't have a touchdown his first 2 weeks. You knew it was just a matter of time. I'm a big fan of his, and like you said, as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy, remember he didn't play throughout the preseason. So it's like if he's getting back into shape, back into form now, it could be good things.
I've
for
noticed a
Garrett
lot more people are picking up Alan Lazard as well too, because that seems to
Yep.
be
Yep.
the guy that he's going after. Rodgers targeting
Wilson is number
Yep,
2.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah, the only thing we did realize from him at the game is he does not like hugging.
Yeah, that was awkward.
No.
If you guys didn't see it, go check it out. The head coach tries to give him a hug, and it's pretty
Yeah.
awkward.
I do think Braylon
Yeah.
Allen, I'm surprised that they're doing share, but that actually is pretty smart because I think they're also trying to save Brees Hall, and so Braylon Allen he's got as much touches on the football as Brees Hall has.
Hey, Jim, you want to go through some of the news and notes and top headlines for the day?
Yeah, totally. Actually, I was just telling Jed as we were coming on. Lately I've been I just picked up Deontay Johnson in our what do you call it? Dynasty League. Yeah.
Oh, I've been picking up Chuba Hubbard because I think a lot of times with Andy Dalton, he's going to need a run game. I think a lot of times Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson might be okay. And so a lot of times I've been picking up a lot of Thielen and Hubbard.
I don't like Hubbard at all. I just dropped him actually. I do like the rookie who's still on injured reserve. I think is it Brooks? I
Oh,
wanna
Jonathan
say, I
Brooks.
like
Yeah.
that. Yes, I like Brooks as the backup, but I'm not a fan of
I-
Chubb. I'm still waiting, and we'll see. You guys remember Andy Dalton? The guy is pretty old. We got to see how this works.
But I do think, right, like Bryce Young is out. I do think Bryce Young was the reason why. I mean, you got to think for the amount of trade capital they sent out for Bryce Young. I mean, the Bears took advantage of him, and I did not think Bryce Young was going to be as bad as he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and do you think? Okay, so here's the question: do you think they're going to trade Bryce Young?
I don't think so. I think it's too early. I mean, he might just need a little bit of time. And Dalton's not the solution. He's not the long-term solution. It's still, I would be shocked if they did that. I think it's way too early. I mean, it's only week 3, so we gotta see.
Oh, Jed, a lot of commentators on NFL Live and all that stuff say, hey, Bryce Young is done because a lot of times it'll be hard to come back because this coaching staff were not the ones that drafted him. They could care less about this. If it was the old coaching staff, but this new group didn't touch him, and so let's start all over.
I agree with Tommy because if you noticed this past week, he did say the reporters asked him if he was open to a trade, and he's like, if they want to trade me, I am open to a trade. So I actually think that there's not a commitment from both sides. I think
So Minnesota.
I know because Minnesota got that one guy, the Michigan quarterback. Yeah. So I mean, there's got to be another team out there that might need him, but I would not be surprised if they end up trading Bryce Young. So, anyways, so Bryce Young is out. Andy Dalton is in. I do think that that's going to help the offensive players. I think you'll see better production from Thielen. You're going to see better production from who is it? Who's the guy? Oh, Deontay Johnson and some of those other players as well too. So, Tank Bigsby is remain limited in Friday's practice. Kenneth Walker will most likely not play this week, so you're going to see Zach Charbonnet again.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times that's the problem that you have with Kenneth Walker. When he does play, he's pretty good. But a lot of times Charbonnet is just as good. It's just making sure that Kenneth Walker plays. That's always a risk when you play Kenneth Walker and have him on your team.
Yeah. This season, this is the season of the backup running back. So you guys know in our 1,000 and our 1K league matchup, my starting running backs this weekend are J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason.
Yeah.
Both backups, but both awesome.
No, Jordan Mason, that's a good pickup. Now, I would contend you want to trade J.K. Dobbins while he's high because I actually think that he's not going to last the season.
I don't know, man. He's leading the league in rushing right now. He's in a situation where there's always going to be a ton of carries. I know, very valuable, man. Guy I want to hold on to. But yeah, so Charbonnet, I mean, there's so many backups that you can be holding on to now that are going to be.
Oh, Jet, I am stocking myself up with J.K. Dobbins. Give me more J.K. Dobbins. I am on the lookout for J.K. Dobbins.
All right, I'll make you a trade. I'll make you a trade request.
Well, okay, so I traded Tommy.
Now you're going to get that much more.
Speaking of which, I traded Tommy Jordan Mason for Puka Nakua the other day. Because I'm gonna
Oh, that's pretty
ride
good.
the Jordan Mason train. George Kittle is most likely not gonna play against the Rams. So you got two teams who's playing each other this week, and they are decimated, right? San Francisco is losing. They've lost McCaffrey. They're most likely going to play without George Kittle. They don't have Debo. LA Rams, they don't have Cooper Kupp. They don't have Puka Nakua. I mean, those teams, like who are you guys looking at on those two teams?
Honestly, a lot of times Brandon Ayuk better step up. There is no more excuse, but Brandon Ayuk needs to step up. I know a lot of times he's still getting in game shape, but at the same time, take a look at Juwan Johnson over at the San Francisco 49ers. So he's going to be key, but then they're going to run a lot with Mason, Juwan Johnson, as well as Brandon Ayuk. But Ayuk, I really have high hopes for.
Yeah, I was gonna say Juwan Johnson too, and then the other. The other wide receiver I was picking up was Demarcus Robinson on the Rams.
Yeah,
because of on the Rams. So he's the other guy.
Yeah, some people think that other guy. I think he's going to be the third wide receiver, Jordan Washington. Might be actually a decent pickup, because the only problem with those three Rams receivers is I don't know if anyone's going to emerge as the top candidate, and so I think they're going to spread out the offense. So, yeah. Hey, I was going to ask you guys on our 1K league. Blake Corum is out there. I know Kyren Williams is doing pretty good, but would you take a flyer on a Blake Corum?
I would probably say if you have a lot of space, I wouldn't go for it right now, but I will keep him on. I would at least keep him on my radar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Joe Mixon is out. Damian Pierce is out for Houston Texans. So who's the starter?
This is
Cam Akers.
This is Tommy's favorite.
Cam Akers against the Vikings, his former team.
I picked up some Cam Akers in two of my leagues. I picked up Cam Akers as starting running back.
Yeah, it's a good pickup.
Well, especially it's one of those revenge games. And so I think even if you keep them for like a week or two until they're healthy, I actually think that Cam Akers could be a good story for this year.
Yeah. Hey, Jed, going back to what we were talking about with the San Francisco. So do you like my trade with Jimmy? I got Puka Nakua. Look, I love my guys who just get injured later on. And then he got Jordan Mason because I don't know. Christian McCaffrey is having a lot of Achilles problems. It started with the calf, affected his Achilles. Yeah. They're afraid that if he keeps putting too much pressure on it, he's going to tear the Achilles tendon. So they have to make it to the playoffs. They are saving him for the playoffs. So Mason's going to play a lot, but then I'm hoping Puka Nakua will be one of my top wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't love that trade, not because of Jordan Mason. I think you're right. Mason is, McCaffrey is there. He's going to come back at some point. The main reason I don't, actually depends on Cooper Kupp. My whole problem with Puka was Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp, at least that first game, it was clear that Puka was going to be number 2 and Cooper was going to be number 1, which was a flip. Mm-hmm. That's not what we thought, but that was a flip. So that was my big concern. But with Cooper Kupp hurt and out, maybe you're right. Like maybe as long as Puka comes back and Cooper's not there in front, then you can get you can get the payment on that. But otherwise,
here's the reason why I made the trade, right? I think I'm going to get some good, solid production from Jordan Mason these next few weeks. Even if I get 5 or 6 games, I think he's going to be the running back, and especially with all of these San Francisco players out, when you get these receivers who's coming back from an injury, I don't know how long it's going to take them to kind of get reacclimated and do well. And so I'd rather take the risk on a Jordan Mason than for a Puka Nakua. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, and so it all depends on if you're playing for now or if you're playing for later. And we all know that Tommy likes to play for later, to stock up and then make a huge run right before the playoffs.
Yeah, I am always playing for later. Like for a lot of times, people may criticize me for a trade, and I regret it. And later on, I'd love to hear your thoughts about trade regrets. I was dumb in the sense that I traded
Lamar Jackson.
Kamara.
Oh yeah, Kamara. Yeah.
Very, very high after week 1 for Brian Thomas and Najee Harris. I'm kicking myself. But you could sit and regret all day, and you could just sit there and regret. Now you're looking, there's nothing you could do. So you're just hoping that Brian Thomas will really do well.
Yeah.
No regrets, man. No regrets in your trades. You still,
Yeah.
it's better to have swung and missed than not to have
Okay,
swung.
so here's another thing that I saw Tommy do, and I don't know what you guys think. He dropped Carson Steele for Kareem Hunt in our 1K league. And I was like, I think actually, I know that Kareem Hunt used to be on the Kansas City team. I actually like Carson Steele more than Hunt.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah, exactly. I don't know exactly. I think you're just a shot in the dark either way. Like I don't know that either one
Yeah.
is necessarily.
it really came down to, I trust a white man running the ball. I just don't. It really came down to that.
Yeah, I like that. That's good as reasoning as any.
Yeah. Okay, T. Higgins comes back and will most likely play. Do you think that the Cincinnati offense is going to get back on track?
Jamar Chase better be getting on track. I mean, and it looks like T. Higgins will not be
Really?
playing.
Are you sure?
At least when I was sitting there listening to some of the NFL, they're thinking he probably won't be
Really?
playing.
I know he practiced on Friday. You think they're going to keep him out one more week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's looking for a big contract. He's not going to try very hard.
Yeah, I'm worried about Cincinnati. I mean, we're so used to that offense producing points, and I don't know. We'll see. This is really a must win for them, right? 0-2. I mean, the you see all the stats on teams that are 0-2 and their chances of making the playoffs really start to tank. 0-3 is pretty much impossible. So this is a must win game for them, basically.
But if you do need a tight end, Mike Gesicki.
Yes, because I texted you guys. I was like, Gesicki.
Yeah.
He came back. We all liked Gesicki when he was in Miami, and then got traded I don't know how he picked up into Cincinnati, but that was great to see him pop up last week.
Yeah. You need a tight end. Go look at Mike Gesicki. He's sitting there on the waivers right now.
Okay, this team is playing the Bears. Michael Pittman is dealing with back and calf injuries, but you're also going to get Josh Downs coming back, and then Alec Pierce is the number one. Is he the number one wide receiver of that team?
Michael Pittman sucks. He is terrible. All right, he just sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Alec Pierce in a couple leagues because of injuries to, for example, DK Metcalf is out, and so I do have Pierce in a couple leagues that I'm hoping he hits. But yeah, with Josh Downs coming back, you don't know what it's going to do.
You never know. Pierce might be the next Cooper Kupp. I actually do regret, because if I were to choose today between Pierce and also Michael Pittman's been a big disappointment for me.
Yeah, that's because you accidentally picked up Michael Pittman without you wanting him, because nobody picks him.
No, you know what it is? I was so mad. I was ready to go for Jaden Reed, and my Wi-Fi went out on me, and next thing you know, I was like, friggin', I got Michael Pittman, So
Pittman's not bad. I actually like Pittman. I think the problem hasn't been Pittman. It's been that Anthony Richardson has been off this year. His accuracy is down the first two. So I'm hoping it's just an anomaly, but he has not looked great. He had those couple bombs that game one, but his short-term or short-range accuracy has not been good. So I'm hoping that turns around. Well, we'll see.
Jay, you know who's been terrible? Taylor. Taylor has not been a very elite running back.
Yeah.
The whole Colts have been disappointing. I mean, there was a lot of hype on them going in, and they have definitely been disappointing.
I think that's,
but you got to start Taylor. If you've got Taylor, you got to
I think that's what you're seeing with a lot of these running quarterbacks, right? You're seeing the same thing happen with Lamar Jackson. They don't know what to do with these running backs, right? Are you a running back team and you feed the ball to the running backs, like our Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor, or do you allow your quarterback to run and you supplement them with the running back? I think they're still trying to figure all that stuff out.
Except, Jim, it looks like over on the Arizona Cardinals, at least Kyler Murray has figured out James Conner, Marvin Harrison, Trey, all of that. He has done a really good job as a running quarterback.
Well, and I think James Conner is the perfect complement to them, right? That's one of the reasons I still don't think he'll survive the entire season. But James Conner, he doesn't need to be the number one. He doesn't need to be the focus of that offense. He knows it's going to be Murray. He knows it's going to be Harrison. But he complements those guys. And he does the little things, the blocking, the running, that allows them to get that ball down.
Man, guys, in our 1K league, I have an extra open slot, and I'm looking for a free agent to pick up. There is nobody. Our 1K league, to anyone who's listening who's in our 1K league, you guys are good.
Yeah.
Because there is nobody there's really nobody left to pick up. Maybe our bench is too big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have shortened our bench because there's no one out
No,
there.
but those guys are pretty
Yeah,
good
Jim, in the
too.
future,
Yeah.
but Jim, in the future, even with that 1K league, shorten the bench by one because we
Yeah.
have 12 teams. So
Yeah.
there's no movement.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, maybe they'll trade. See, in that 1K, like, you can't even make a trade to try to take advantage of somebody because they know. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of the one trade league, let me ask you guys a quick question. Javonte Williams or Chuba Hubbard? I got to know. Javonte Williams, Hubbard, or Adam Thielen? I got to pick one.
I still go
Ooh,
with
what do you-
Javonte
what-
Williams, right?
Yeah, that's
I
what I
still
was
go
gonna
with
say, too.
Javonte Williams.
Because the other guys sitting on my bench are Kenneth Walker and Evan Ingram.
No, and
there's
both
nothing.
of
I mean,
both of them are
those-
injured as well too. So yeah. Oh, hey guys. Okay, Christian Kirk. I'm looking at our freight. Do you think Brian Thomas has just emerged and Christian Kirk is going to be not a factor anymore?
Tommy loves Christian Kirk. Come on,
No,
Tommy.
not anymore. I dropped
That's
him
your
from
guy.
everywhere. I've been going after Brian Thomas. I've been going after
Okay.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually.
Yeah, I love Christian Kirk. I actually thought that he would really just rise up with Calvin Ridley being gone, but wow, nothing. So I dropped him and been going after because the Jacksonville Jaguars cannot be this bad. They cannot be that.
Yeah, they have
Trevor
looked really
Lawrence,
bad.
Trevor Lawrence has not done. Remember when he was drafted and they were like, he's a can't miss quarterback. Well, he's missing these days, and he's not good. Yeah. Okay, hey, I'm looking at it. Jet, here's a couple players you might want to look at off the waiver wire. A Kareem Hunt, a Naylor from Minnesota. You could take a flyer on Blake Corum from the LA Rams. Lazard, but I know he's on the waiver wire. He might be somebody.
Yeah, he's on waivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Lazard,
Yeah.
but he's on waivers.
Yeah, Lazard would be good. So,
Yeah.
if you need a quarterback, remember Aaron Rodgers scored the last 2 weeks 15 points and 21 points. That's actually pretty good considering the output from some of these quarterbacks. Like last week, Anthony Richardson, 9 points, but he had 3 interceptions.
No, I think I'm going to pick up this Robinson from on the Rams. It's a decent
DeMarcus.
pickup.
I just don't know if I trust any of the Rams players, because you're not really sure who's going to end up being the person who's going to end up being the number one there.
All right, I picked up Robinson, so we'll see what happens.
Tom, should we run through a couple of the games?
Any more news and notes on
No,
your
we're
end?
good. So, but the person that I wish I picked up more, he's not anywhere anymore. Alec Pierce, I think is going to do well for the rest of the year. I think Jawan Jennings is somebody to pay attention to, from the wire perspective. And then I actually think, like I said, Jalen Naylor, wide receiver. I don't know if Jordan Anderson is going to be right for the rest of the year. So I think Naylor will be a good complement. The only thing is, Darnold doesn't really throw those steep balls. He'll get your consistent 200 points. I just don't know if he'll get them. So
okay, we should do a segment on Fool's Gold.
Yeah.
And like, who do we think is real and not? Sam Darnold is one. I picked up Sam Darnold in our 1K league just to stash
Yeah.
him, but I just don't think it's real. Like, I think he's had a great first couple of weeks, but I don't think it's real. I don't think it's gonna last.
who do you think is going to be better?
Only thing, Chad, is when you are Justin Jefferson,
Yeah.
that guy bailed you out on a lot of things.
Yes, and they
Yeah.
have a good offensive line. They have a good run game. They have all the stuff you need.
So let me ask you guys, who do you think is going to be better long term? Derek Carr or Sam Darnold?
So New Orleans is exactly. That's the other one. It's like, is New Orleans for real, or is that? They have dominated in the first 2
Mhm.
weeks. Is that going to continue?
Now, their offensive coordinator
Kubiak.
came from, Clint Kubiak. I mean, a lot of times they do a very good job with their running game. Kamara, if he gets injured, you have Williams sitting there, Jamal Williams sitting there, but their wide receivers are not that good. And a lot of times, Derek Carr is prone to throwing a lot of interceptions.
Here's another fool's gold, Rashid Shaheed. He's done well the last couple of weeks, but is he going to end up giving you good, solid fantasy numbers? Because Chris Olave has not come on yet. And can Derek Carr get them the ball, and can they be consistent for the rest of the season?
Yeah, Philadelphia is at New Orleans this week, and New Orleans. Oh, that's interesting. So New Orleans a 2.5 favorite, which means that actually a lot of people are picking Philly because it's at home.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So I don't know. I don't trust New Orleans yet, but man, if they win this week and beat Philly, I might have to get on that train because that's 3 dominant weeks in a row if they can do that.
Yeah. Hey, on a side note, that Monday Night Football game that we did not get a chance to talk about between Philly and Atlanta, I was surprised that Philly lost that game. I was very surprised that Philly
Guys,
lost.
this is where my gambling addiction comes out. So there's in-game betting, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
Philly went down and scored, right before they scored, I was like, there's too much time. Kirk Cousins is gonna come back and score. This is Captain Kirk time. Lo and behold, it hit. So I mean, that was like, but you just could see it coming. It was like they
Yeah,
left
yeah.
him a minute and 37 some seconds. It was like he's gonna come down and
Jed,
score.
what do
And
you
sure
what do you
enough,
what do
so
you
that
use? What do you do?
DraftKings.
Is it pretty good? I should download DraftKings.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah, if you haven't done it yet, they
Mhm.
have the best intro package. You get like $200 in free credits
Yeah,
off your
yeah.
first bet. That's like a really good
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. So
Yeah. Hey, but I'm glad that Drake London did really well. I mean, I needed Drake London to score that touchdown.
but
Yeah, that's saved.
yeah, that did, because up until then he was fine, but that touchdown to Drake London saved him. So yeah.
No, that game was all about the running backs.
Yeah.
The running backs looked amazing. Like both sides, they looked really good.
I mean, if we go back to the draft, McCaffrey, Brees Hall,
Saquon
Bijan.
Barkley. Saquon Barkley's number one.
You did,
Saquon
don't you think
Barkley's gotta be
Bijan?
number
No,
one.
Bijan. I think Bijan's going to be number one. Bijan 1, Saquon 2. I think that's how you would do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? A lot of times I was sitting there listening to a podcast. They were saying there, if you had to do a redraft right now after going to week 3, they were all arguing for Brees Hall.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Brees
I
Hall
still
too.
think because that Allen guy, Braylon Allen, he's going to dip into Brees Hall. So that's why, for me, the only thing about Bijan Robinson, he has not scored any touchdowns. He didn't score much touchdowns last year either.
Except, Jim, a lot of times if they look at the numbers, Brees Hall is still getting 70% of all your carries and all your plays. Braylon Allen is only getting 30%. They're still making sure that Brees Hall does not get and wear himself out for this year or next year. So a lot of times Brees Hall gets the catches and the running. Bijan Robinson tends to just get the rush.
I am anxious to see week 3 production, though, right? Because the first 2 weeks are over. Now you're starting to get into the meat of these fantasy leagues.
Yes.
And you're going to see who's for real, right? Who's going to be the ones who's going to emerge? Like, Pierce, is he going to be the one? Who's going to emerge as the number 1 wide receiver there? Is Anthony Richardson going to continue making these dumb mistakes, right? So you're going to start seeing some consistency in trends across the board.
Baltimore, I think, is another one. 0-2. Is that really legit, or do they turn things around? I mean, very surprised to see them start 0-2.
That's because John Harbaugh gave all his good players to his brother, Jim.
Yeah, maybe. They're playing Dallas this week, so big game. It's in Dallas, but Baltimore's actually favored by 1.
Yeah.
But that's a really interesting one.
Hey, Dak Prescott had a terrible game, Jed, and I am so surprised at how bad they got killed by New Orleans. Usually Dallas is not that bad, but I want to see Dak Prescott, after signing that big contract, he has to play a very good game.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a really high-scoring game there. I would like to see a shootout there because I do think Dak and the offense are better than what they looked like last week. But we'll see. Their running game has been the problem in Dallas. There's no running game there.
Well, they were saying the secondary for Baltimore, who they're playing against, is not that good. You would think because they've got all those all-stars, they would be so good, but they're not. So you might see, Jake Ferguson is coming back, CeeDee Lamb. The question then becomes, okay, who's going to emerge as that second quarter wide receiver? Is it going to be a Brandon Cooks or Obers?
Yeah. Side note, a lot of times with Baltimore, IDP-wise, we don't always talk about IDP. Our middle linebacker has not been doing very well. Roquan Smith has not been doing very well.
Yeah. I like, by the way, another team we haven't talked about is Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay surprising 2-0. Baker Mayfield. They're playing Denver this week. They're 6-point favorites. That's my favorite pick of this week. Is for any gamblers out there, is Tampa Bay over Denver. But I just like what's happening with Baker Mayfield in there, and I think he's got a nice surrounding cast. Mike Evans has been good, so it's a nice crew.
You know what? For all those guys who are fantasy, especially, makes a case for drafting quarterbacks late. because Baker Mayfield was probably drafted
Yes.
very, very late or sitting on waivers. You could have sat there, avoided Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and picked up Baker Mayfield.
Top two fantasy quarterbacks, the most consistent fantasy quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, the last 2 weeks. So
Yep.
Jim, you know who
undrafted.
number 4 was in terms of top fantasy points for quarterbacks? Jaden Daniels.
oh yeah,
Jaden
yeah,
Daniels
yeah,
been good.
yeah.
Daniels.
Yeah. Actually, I've been surprised Washington hasn't been better, though. I was expecting Washington to be a really good team this year, and I feel like they have not. Are they 1-1 or are they 0-2? Or did they
I
win?
don't know, but Jed, what they're saying is he is your top 4 fantasy producer with
Yes.
having no touchdowns thrown at this point.
Yes. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah, they're 1-1. So yeah, that's an interesting
Who are
one.
they
And I
playing?
heard people talking
Oh.
about it's gonna be tough. They're playing the Bengals. That's really interesting. But I think the Bengals are gonna come out. I mean, Bengals have to save their season, basically. But I did hear people saying that Chicago should have traded the pick again, drafted Jalen Daniels lower, and still stocked up on more. That could
Well,
have
I
been
know
kinda
that's what
interesting.
Orlovsky from ESPN was really advocating for. Actually, who is
Yeah.
it? Luke. No, I forgot what it is. I forgot who it is. Anyways, a number of them were really advocating for them to go after Jaden Daniels instead of Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
By the way,
Hey, Jed, Jim, can we go back real fast to the Dallas game as well,
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
Number 1 fantasy scorer on Dallas. Guess who that is?
oh, the kicker.
Brandon
Yeah,
Aubrey.
the kicker's been doing good.
really, really good kicker. One of the best kickers, better than
Yeah.
Tucker every day. He is the number 1 fantasy scorer on the Dallas
Yeah.
Cowboys.
Hey, did you guys know that there's 2 Monday night games this week?
Yeah,
I'm just looking
we
at it right
got
now.
Jacksonville
Yeah.
versus Buffalo, and then Washington versus
So
Cincinnati.
you're essentially watching 2
Wow.
games. ESPN and ABC are the 2 games.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how interested I will be in the Jacksonville versus Buffalo game. I'm curious to see Washington versus
Yeah.
Cincinnati. That sounds like
The thing.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm paying attention to for Buffalo, right? I'm paying attention to, is Dalton Kincaid really a legitimate this year, or are they going to get him going? Because thus far they haven't done. Who's going to emerge to be number 1 wide receiver for them? Is it going to be Shakir or is it going to be Coleman? And the last 2 weeks, James Cook has done really well. So is James Cook going to continue to do well for this first half of the season? That's what I would pay attention to for that game.
I really need Dalton Kincaid to do well. I picked him really high. Now, I have Hawkinson sitting on injured reserve, but I need Dalton Kincaid to do something this week.
I've lucked out in a number of leagues because I decided once Laporta and Kelsey went away, I just waited towards the end and I started picking up a Brock Bowers in like the 9th or 10th round. Brock Bowers is the number 1 tight end thus far this year.
wow.
And Jim, I would probably say a lot of times Minshew is not a bad throwing
Mhm.
quarterback. Devontae Adams has done well and all this stuff. The running game hasn't done well, but a lot of times he has not been bad, Minshew.
Actually, the running game's not been bad. Zamir White has stomped, but Alexander Madison, he scored the last 2 weeks. And so he's actually, I don't know if he's the number 1 running back, but he's taken all over the production you would expect Zamir White would do. Yeah. I do think this Washington-Cincinnati game is going to be a good one for me to watch because you want to see is Burrow's going to who's got a better offense, you know? And I do think that the Jaden Daniels thing is actually pretty legit.
Hey, Jim, can we take a look at the Miami-Seattle game with Tua out? Who knows how long he's going to be out? Minimum 4 games,
Well,
maybe at the end of the year. What is your long-term prognosis of Tyreek Hill, Achane, Mostert, Waddle, all those
Jed,
guys?
I was looking at a number of your teams. You've got at least the 2 teams that were. I think you've got Tyreek Hill on both those teams, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tyreek Hill has been my mainstay on a lot of my teams, and this just kills. Although I still expect. I mean, who else? If you're a new quarterback, a backup quarterback coming in that situation, what are you gonna do? You're gonna pepper it all to Tyreek Hill the whole game. So I still think he's gonna get his points, but the problem is the offense as a whole is just gonna drop.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see as many touchdowns, and so I'm very worried.
Yeah, you're stuck with Skylar Thompson, all right? We have not seen Skylar. I don't think Skylar. I would be very surprised to see Skylar Thompson doing that well.
Well,
They're gonna run the ball.
Did you guys
lot.
watch the game when Tua got injured? I'm like, what is he doing?
yeah.
Right? Like,
I
because he
watched
led with his
the
head.
play.
Yeah, he led with his head.
Yeah.
So, and it's got, okay, they were on what, the 8-yard line? And I was like, okay, Skylar Thompson can at least try to get the ball to Achane and get a touchdown. Got sacked. Didn't even do it. Couldn't even do that.
Yeah, I think the other interesting team is Houston. Houston's playing Minnesota this week, and I'm just very curious. I felt like, we were all wondering. So I think we've seen a little bit now with Houston, Nico Collins versus Tank Dell. All the hype about Tank Dell was wrong. It's been Nico Collins. And Stephon Gilmore has been a lot better than we thought, right?
Yeah.
He's been the clear number 2 there, so that's been interesting. But I want to see if Houston's again for real. This is a really good test in Minnesota. Minnesota's got a good defense, so it'll be interesting to see if Houston really is legit.
Yeah.
I do love a Houston defense. They've been very, very good. And Minnesota as well, too. I mean, I think a lot of times Justice Jefferson, even with Sam Darnold, we were just talking about it, has not been bad.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times for me on my keeper team, Justin Jefferson has been great. Jamar Chase has been absolutely terrible, but Justin Jefferson has been wonderful.
Speaking of running backs who are on the waiver wire, the person that the person I'm really paying attention to is Ty Chandler. He's taken carries from Aaron Jones the last few weeks, and so I do want to continue to watch him because he's somebody that I'm monitoring. Yeah, Detroit versus Arizona, which is the afternoon game. I think that's going to be one of the best games.
Hopefully that'll be a 50-point shootout. That would be glorious to see, lots of points. Although Detroit has a very good defense, so that could be it. But Detroit is 1-1, right?
Detroit. I would say that Arizona has done better the last couple of weeks than Detroit has, right? So I would like to kind of see Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of get out of his funk. I expect a big fantasy production from Jameson Williams, but I want to see.
Jameson, he is the real deal. I think a lot of times number 1 draft pick, all of that stuff, injured. Coming out of Alabama, I think Jameson Williams is your real deal.
But going back to Detroit, though, Sam Laporta is still getting the bulk of the targets, but he has not translated that into any fantasy production.
Look, I am making trade offers for Sam Laporta. If people want to trade Sam Laporta, I want Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, he's a second-year guy, everything like that, younger. I'd go with Sam Laporta.
Tom, so do you think, going with that tight end thing, do you think Travis Kelce, who they're playing Atlanta this week, do you think Travis Kelce is going to get out of his funk?
You know what? He cannot be that bad. Patrick Mahomes has been pretty bad, or worse off than what he's always been. So I probably, people still will pay a high price for Travis Kelce. I actually will go right for Sam Laporta.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And but who has been really good has been Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice in Kansas City has taken over as
the number 1
what Travis Kelce was getting. And so that has been a surprise. We haven't seen that from Kansas City since the Tyreek Hill days of having a single wide receiver scooping in a lot of the points. So that's been, if you drafted him, I have him in a couple teams. You got him pretty late, and he's been producing like first-round points for you. So it's pretty good.
Yeah. Rashee Rice, as Travis Kelce continues to get older and eventually retires, Rashee Rice will be getting out the majority. He will be like your Tyreek Hill back when he was in Kansas City.
Yeah. So, let's see. There's a couple of decent guys. I think we talked about it. Carolina versus Las Vegas. I think that's going to be a boring game. I think Las Vegas is going to end up winning, but I actually would not be surprised if Andy Dalton made it somewhat close, and then you're seeing some good fantasy production like we talked about with Carolina's players.
Yeah. So
okay, Chicago, Indiana.
I mean,
go ahead.
Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Jordan Love may have a chance to play.
No,
I
don't think he'll play. Yeah.
I think he'll be next week, but Jordan Love is coming back here soon.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play. I think he'll play, maybe sit out one more week. So.
Yeah, that's a tough game to call too. Tennessee's a 3-point favorite because it's in Tennessee. But that's a tough call because I think Green Bay is going to lean heavily on the run game. By the way, if you had Josh Jacobs in Green Bay, he's been pretty good. Like, not a touchdown machine, but a ton of yards, ton of carries. They're going to do the same thing this week, but Tennessee's got a pretty good defense, so I can see Tennessee bottling that up. But then Will Levis is their offense has been horrendous, so I just don't know if they can score enough points to win.
Remember last week Green Bay was supposed to win.
Will Levis stinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will Levis is terrible. Tajay Spears, who everyone had high hopes for, is terrible. DeAndre Hopkins, nothing. Calvin Ridley, maybe. Tony Pollard is probably your best player out of Tennessee
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah. Okay, Chicago versus
Yeah.
Indianapolis. Who do you guys think is going to win that?
I'm ashamed to admit this, but I'm taking Indianapolis. I put money on Indianapolis because I
Yeah.
just don't see Chicago winning this game. It's in Indy. Indy's only a 1-point favorite, which I just don't understand. I think it's all the Bears fans betting the line down. I can't see the Bears winning this game. I'll be cheering for them, but I can't see it.
Yeah. Jed, all I want to see from the Bears is I want to see movement on the offense. That's all I want to see. Protection, movement, some sort of rhythm versus every single time I was looking at it, it was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. I just need to see some sort of rhythm.
Yeah. But
It's been surprising that how little Cole Kmet has been involved too. That's been another interesting development. You would think as a safety net he would be the perfect blanket for Caleb.
But think about it. Even last week, as bad as they were, fourth quarter they still had a chance to win, and it's because the defense kept them in that game.
Oh, the defense has been phenomenal. The defense has been so good.
Hey, it's gonna be a lot of games. 2 Monday night games, Sunday night game. I like Atlanta. All of that. It should be a fun game. This week. I did want to ask you: were you guys surprised by Adrian Wojnarowski retiring?
I was reading a thing about how he came in the same year as LeBron, so he retired before LeBron. It's like that's really funny.
Yeah. The pressures of being an NBA insider, all of that stuff. He broke the news all the time. For him to have walked away from $35 million, $7 million a year, additional 5 years left. To become the GM
for St. Bonaventure.
Yeah.
But did you read some of the things that even Adam Schefter was saying? He's like, look, you can't rest. You get maybe a couple hours of sleep a night. Your phone is always on. You're showering, and you have the phone right next to you so that you can pay attention to any tweets. Essentially, your life is gone when you do those things.
Yeah, not worth it in my opinion. I think he made the right move.
Yeah. So I've been reading this book. It's an old book, but it was essentially the story of how ESPN started. And they were talking, so I'm on this section now about how they went from just throwing out games and kind of playing games to how they became like a news breaking story. And the first time it started was Jim Gray broke the story about Eric Dickerson being traded from the Rams to the Colts. And it's because he had a relationship with Eric Dickerson, and Dickerson called him before anybody else said anything and said, come over to my house. I got some news to share with you. And that's when they realized, we are also a news station.
That's really interesting. That was huge. I remember that trade.
And then the other thing I was reading, which was interesting, is they were able to this was because remember back on NBC, they had this show called The Sports Machine. Do you guys remember that? It was like where they did some
they
had highlights, and the NFL restricted anybody from using a lot of highlights. So they limited how much highlights they were able to use. So that's why the Sports Machine only did like segments at a time, right? Well, when ESPN came in, they negotiated that they would have full access to all their highlights, and they convinced Chris Berman to move from talking about games and broadcasting games to doing their highlight show. And they said Berman did not want to do it. Like, he hated it so much. But then they brought him, and then they convinced Tom Jackson, who just retired, to join him. And all of a sudden, it became like the number one NFL show. And all of these networks, CBS, NBC, they were trying to figure out, how did these guys get all of these highlights and we didn't get any of them? But I guess it was in their contract with ESPN.
Yeah. And that's where NFL primetime came along.
Yeah. So, anyways, okay, before we end, here's the last question. Shohei Ohtani. Is he worth the money that these guys paid him?
100%. He's worth everything.
Yeah.
The guy is
50-50.
all world, man. 52-50. Man, the guy is like insane. Yeah, what a great story. And it's very cool.
Not only do you get sales in the U.S., but you also get sales, not just Tokyo, Asia, all people are just crazy
Mhm.
about Shohei
Yeah.
Ohtani.
He's probably underpaid.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you really
yeah.
think about it, he's probably underpaid.
Well,
Which
and
is
so they
crazy.
were making fun of the two teams, right? Because they were saying the Cubs said they try to make an offer, but I doubt those guys even came close. And they said J.R. Reinsdorf just laughed at the idea of paying someone $50 million. And then the ESPN folks were saying J.R. Reinsdorf has no clue about anything regarding baseball players for this age.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that would have been so. Dude, if Ohtani was in Chicago, oh man, that would have been, especially this year. That would.
Yeah, I was actually looking at I wouldn't mind picking. I'm trying to buy some Ohtani cards and Caitlin Clark cards, just to kind of
Yep.
have.
Oh, Caitlin Clark this Sunday. So the playoffs start this weekend. She's playing on Sunday. Watch that game. She's coming in as the number 6 seed. Should definitely not a favorite to win in any way,
Yeah.
but I expect some fireworks from her. She can beat the number 3 seeded. They're playing Connecticut, so
Yeah,
watch that on Sunday. And then the second. So in the WNBA, the first games are just out of 3. So the second game will be on Wednesday, and then if there's a third game, it'll be the following weekend. But pay attention. That should be a fun game.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, hey, let's see what happens with this week's game, and we'll see you all next week.
Yep. Good luck.
Sounds good.
See you soon.